So I got a little bit of room, a tiny bit of room in the schedule. So I figured what I would do is while I'm building this blade sign, I'm just going to real-time record because I have people who are interested possibly in doing what I do. At my shop, we are going to be needing people to duplicate what I do. Basically I need help. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to film what it takes to do a blade sign. Yes, it might take a little bit of time. This might be a long video, pop some popcorn, but I'm just going to literally, and I'm not going to edit for time. I'm just going to do it in one take. I mean, hopefully I don't have to use the restroom or something. But, other than that, if a dog barks or the trash truck shows up, the garbage truck shows up, pardon the noise, but it'll just be what it'll be. So I'm going to do this in real time, what it takes to bring in the files, build the sign, and then get it to export and get it to route or get it to production. So that's it. So follow along, and this will also be basically an instructional video for anyone who wants to do this. They can sit and go to school on it. This is a very good representation of like our basic, I call it the clean and sexy blade sign. It's non-illuminated. It does not need to have removable faces. It doesn't need to have really any special exceptions. It's just more of a quote unquote standard blade sign that we make. So it's a good representation for what we do. Of course, there's all kinds of custom ones out there. There's all kinds of contingencies. And that's where, it helps to be a fabricator and to have experience in that, to know what you're building. But something like this is a person who's really never welded can basically send the files if they do it properly. But again, it helps to know how to build a blade sign in order to build a blade sign. But again, I think if somebody wants to get to the head of the line and skip the fabrication part for 20 years, just do it this way. Should be able to figure it out. All right, so let's get cracking. Let's get after it. So pull up your Corel. Adoy. So what you're going to do is your graphics people will have sent you all the information you need. So you'd open the email. I already brought it all in. I went and got it off the server and everything. So they're going to give you basically the permit drawing, which helps, gives you that information. And then they're going to give you a full size, which is what I request. The full size is the one that's completely brought up to scale, full scale. And it's their last chance at making sure that all of the fonts are killed, flat, converted to curves. And it's their last chance to verify in a very simple way that I don't need I don't need the bushes, I don't need the building, I don't need any of that. This is the final, yes, I bless this. They're supposed to check the kerning, make sure everything's good, make sure it's centered, make sure that the dimensions are proper. Because if it says 2-inch and it actually is 2-inch, because again, the full size is 1-to-1 ratio. That's where we're working full scale. And that's that. Now, any other information they want to send, like this is basically the permit drawing, which is fine. And it's not to full scale, and that's fine. But I'm going to use this for information, like right here, 1/4-inch thick acrylic. You kind of just go over it, see what they're saying. You can see like the attachment point is nonsense. This is just a cartoon. Obviously, this is not real. So we'd have to figure out how to do that. That's what we're going to do. Again, that's where it's helpful to know how to build a blade sign. In order to build a blade sign, you can see this because you were in the shop drilling holes. You know how that works. Anyway, so we'll go over that. So I'm going to use their I'm kind of getting the lay of the land from their drawings, existing bracket, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, I got the idea. I do look at their pictures here. That's okay. I got it. So cool. So that's what we're going to do. So now that we've kind of looked over this is where you kind of go, maybe fire back a question. If something doesn't add up or something, you're like, it says 22 here, but I'm getting 25. What's going on? But it looks like already really made it 36 by 22. Usually this dimension is 21.989814 by 36.01211212, whatever. But they nailed the dimensions perfectly. Everything's good. And then let's check the full size. Again, everything's killed. This isn't an active font. So we're good to go. So what I do is I open up a new document, and that means this is all my defaults. So that way you never work off of somebody else's document, because you can see his nudge up here. is 0.008 nudge. I don't want that. My nudge is 1 inch and it never changes. My sub nudge control nudge is a 1/16 of an inch. That way I'm moving things a full 1/16. I know what's up. And my macro nudge, which is a shift, is 1 foot, 12 inches. I do not touch that and I want it changed. Also, my outline properties, if I make a rectangle, it's hairline. I know that. Plus the color is a certain way. So anyway, all my defaults are my defaults. So never work off somebody else's. So what I do, start a new page. I go here, I copy in all of this here, boom, copy, and then I just bring it in right in the center of the page. There's my full size. And then I go ahead and grab everything here. I don't need down here, it's fine. I go down here, copy, bring it in, paste, and then I go ahead and put this over here. I'm not worried about scale, I'm not worried about size. This is basically me just duplicating what's on these and then keeping that for myself. That way going forward, now I can close this. I'm done, thank you. And I can close this, thank you. I got everything I need off of that. I'm just gonna grab it and bring it forward. Now, my document is gonna be here. This is the back page. I start going to the left. I start adding pages basically to the left, to this side. So the last page of my document will be the import page from everything. And I do not change this. This is my source of truth, my, record, copy of record or whatever. So I have all this. Now, sometimes my fangs go through the floor and I start just cranking and cranking. And then I realize about a half hour in, I haven't saved this yet. And it's an untitled document and I hope it doesn't crash. So I have to remember to save. So let's do that right off the bat. So we're going to save this as. Now you can go up here and press save like an animal and type and all that. You open the exporter. I got my exporter here. And so what we're going to do is type the name of the job, which is Pinko. Very unfortunate name. And then so that's the name of the job. And then this one here is what is the job. So I'm going to say a non, and I underscore in this area, non-illuminated. Let's just call it blades on. There you go. That's it. So now this will name the file. It's going to be called Pinko, and then it's a non-illuminated blade sign. You hit save CDR, and it automatically saves it, pops it up. It says layers, Pinko, non-illuminated blade sign. It's a PROD, it's a production file. And then I also have it type what version this is. So this is a version 23 CorelDRAW 2021, and it puts the date. All of that is automatically put. We're done. So I close that. Now, what's nice about this, let's say you open exporter again at some point and it's blank. You just grab name and then it automatically takes it from the document name and repopulates it. So you're always good to go. We will be exporting the DXFs from here, and we can export vinyl or patterns from here, EPS, and also I'll show you, we make our reference PDFs and we make everything here. So exporter home is very important for sending out files quickly, fast, and you don't have to type as much. All right, but now this is always loaded as well. This just stays loaded with the name. So anything I need to do, I don't have to type the name ever again. It's right here. So we have it saved. We're good to go. Let's move on. So now what I say is I work from here. Now, in order to keep this small, any sort of PDFs I bring forward, I like to resize them quickly, but I have a macro for that. So we don't have to go up here to bitmaps and resample. You can see where just this one picture at DPI is 2 megabytes. So these pictures that I bring forward, although they're very handy, can all of a sudden make this file get really top heavy. Plus, when we go to export for PDF, you want this document to be as lightweight as possible. So you don't want to duplicate forward heavy items. So all you got to do is my Hunter Killer app here. You go ahead and just select all of it, and it's going to find bitmaps. And then the minimum DPI is 12 that Corel will work with. So it's automatically set for DPI, but you could set that for whatever, and it will automatically resample any bitmaps it finds. So I'm going to select these 3, make sure they're ungrouped, and then I'm going to go like this, and it's going to hit it, and then all of a sudden, now that's pretty horrible. So maybe we just undo that And that was 300. So let's do 200. So I'm going to go like that. So, it doesn't have to be perfect, but at least, and if we go up here and hit resample, that's better. 675. We're not passing forward giant files from this point. And that's all I need to know. There's a hole there. I can still see that fine, and I can still see that fine. But I brought it down a little bit from megabytes to kilobytes. Perfect. So now we're set there. I got my info, and this is my full size. So let's go forward. So now we make a working page. So I said, we leave this alone. This is the page of record. Now I'm going to go, boom, make a new page. And I'm just going to copy paste this forward. And now let's get to work. This is our working page. So Hunter Killer, thank you. Don't need you anymore. So we're going to be working from the middle out, but we're not going to work from this. Let's go ahead and move this up out of the way. And again, don't worry about the size of the page. This is like a shop. This is like your shop. You don't come into your workshop every day and change the size of the walls. You work within your shop. I'm not a fan of working off the page. I know graphics does that. That's great. But for macros and things too, if you want to find things or start working with macros, now you're on the master page. You have to start referencing that in your code versus the page you're on. It's a big pain in the butt. So it's much, much easier to just make your page, treat it like a workshop. That way you can like put this up in the corner, keep it out of your way. This is the main area you work. And then you can go up and pick it up and bring it back or whatever. But I just like to have the page. Now, my default's 800 by 600. Down here, you can see my Mr. Goodbar video I did. I can resize this at any time. I have hot buttons for 1,000, 1,200. So if I do find that I'm starting to get a lot of stuff on my page and it's getting crowded, unlike a workshop, I can instantaneously remodel it and make it bigger. So I just hit these buttons here. 1,800 inches is your max page size, X and Y. So I have it at 16. That's about right. I very rarely, if I start to run into that, then I just go to I break it up into multiple pages. It's easier that way. So anyway, there is a limit to having a too big a page size. I get that. But for the most part, don't worry about customizing your page size to what you're working on. Don't worry about that. So I'm going to move this up because it's still kind of just for reference. And then what I'm going to do is bring out, here it is. This is my Blade Runner. Here we go. So I got two of them. The reason is, this is how we make blade signs, or how I make blade signs. The original one I came up with a long time ago. This is my first one. And again, it helps to know how to build a blade sign to build a blade sign, you have to be able to build one. So conventionally, what you do is you go to the metal rack and you take a piece of aluminum channel frame like this, and it says 2 inches. So this is a 2 inch by 2 inch by 2 inch. And then you go ahead and chop it in the metal, in the saw, and you make a frame and you weld it. So Blade Runner 1 was me duplicating that method of creating a C channel and having jigs and then having two faces that come off and stuff like that. And that was kind of how we made signs. I just converted it to our method with the router and everything, but it was very conventional thinking. Then years later, I was really putting the burners on, and it was like, what if I made like a two-piece design that's really simple? It's literally two pieces of metal you fold, you just glue them together, and then bam, you have a box. Just super simple. And I did some R&D and we started to make it that way. And then I was like, well, I need to macro that because this one was just conventional. So I stopped using this because it was a conventional frame and so I thought about trying to incorporate all this into this and just keep it Blade Runner. But I ended up just saying, you know what, I'm going to break it out. So if you're going to do this with me, then you're going to have Blade Runner 1 and you're going to have Blade Runner 2. So Blade Runner 1 is the conventional way. Now, this still works because let's say Blade Runner 2 with the two-piece method, simple, I call it the clean and sexy blade sign like this, does have its limitations. It can't get too big because there's no framing inside. It's literally an empty box. Something like 22 by 36, perfect. That's why I wanted to make a video about this one. This is a very good example of a typical blade sign we do with Blade Runner 2. It's pure profit. But let's say this gets bigger. Let's say it's wider. Let's say they want rods that go way up and this thing's going to be heavy and it's going to be above people's heads that could be, then what you're going to do is break out Blade Runner 1, and this is going to give you more of a conventional. That way you can put framing in there. You can add in, 1/4-inch plate things to make sure things are really strong. You'll have access because the faces are off. You can bring in rod, you can connect it really well, you can weld in here, and then later either choose to screw on the faces in the field, or after you're done fabbing, lords the faces on and send it out as a one piece. But you have access, you can get strength in here. Or let's say Pinko is illuminated. This is what you'd use. Blade Runner 2.0 is only for streamlined, sexy, within constraints. Blade Runner 1, you bring this out. This has removable faces. You can make it, you would use this basically to make a illuminated one. So that way there's room for LEDs and things. But this gives you a conventional C-channel frame like this, albeit it's routed, but it gives you a C-channel frame and it gives you removable faces. This does not. This is super sleek and sexy. But so for this, we're going to be using Blade Runner 2. Thank you for your service, Blade Runner 1. We don't need you right now. But when you press up here, or you'll probably using the go time, you see that little t-shirt thing? That's basically that's supposed to be a blade sign. So when you press that, you get them both. Blade Runner 1, Blade Runner 2. You choose which one. Thank you. We're cool. So let's go to the production page, and this is where it all comes together. And look at that. The default is almost correct. So, so you're going to go up here to the top, and then you're just going to double check. We have 36 by 22. So the height is 22. The depth is 2 inches. And we are going to do 090 or 063. 090 is best because it's stronger. It welds better. Let's just keep it 09. That's the default. But if this was going to be 063, it offsets all the bends. Everything's good. True size, don't worry about that so much. It's fine. We leave that unselected. I explain that at some point if you're going to do this. This video is mostly just to scare you away, to show you that you don't want to do this, that I'm insane, and nobody in their right mind wants to do this for a living. Anyway, so we have 3622 by 2. We're good to go there. Now, the centers, the mounting points on this, again, I wasn't given that information, but through enhanced interrogation techniques, we were able to suss it out that it was 31.5 inches from hole to hole. Now, whatever that means, whatever hole to hole means, does that mean on center? Does that mean edge of hole to edge of hole? I'm not sure, but I think we're within the margin of error that 31.5 is what we want. So you go up here, 31.5, and we're good to go. So this is going to make a blade sign that's this dimensions, these wide, and that on center for the mounts. So what you're going to do is just, it shoots for the center of the page. So zoom out, give yourself room. Otherwise, if you do it like here, it'll, all the parts will be on top. So go like here, just push the button. It's pure profit. So there you go. So these are the 2 panels you need to make a Pinko blade sign like that. That's an unfortunate name. So I'm going to bring this down now that we're working here. So what this does is this sets up a skeleton profile of what's going on. And again, watch my Mr. Goodbar video. You'll see that that's why I choose colors. So this component is red, and this component is blue. And then the rivet nuts that we use to put the rods in are here represented. So this gives you the profile dimension, and you can double check that it's 36 by, now it's 035 because the riv nuts are actually 035 poking up. But it's truly 36 by 22. Check your measurements, good to go. And this gives you a profile of the 2-piece construction. And then these are the actual parts. So this gives a representation of where the weld nut goes, or riv nut goes. This is a 3/8 riv nut through hole. It says right here on the bottom left, I name everything. Everything has a name. This is through shape. This is the reference bend right here. That lets them know where to clamp. So fabrication needs to know which side of the bend to clamp to. So here's our 2 pieces. So hit save. I always forget. Hit save. Save, save, save. Okay. But now we could send this to fabrication, no problem right now. Oh, look at that. Hey, you're going to see it real time. This is the first crash I've had in a while. Since my new computer, this thing has been rock solid. But I do believe that it's because I've got email open. I think I'm starting to suss it out that Outlook decides to cause issues with this thing. So open up all the macros again. So this is how you recover. This is, hey, this is a real deal. All right, so we get out our exporter here and we go to homework, and this opens where everything's saved. I'm going to open this file. Yeah, that's the one we want. So we can get rid of the autosave. Obviously, it didn't save crap. So we're right back where we started. Now what we do is grab name. Boop. See, Pinko, not only we're right back to where we started. Okay, so crash recovery. It's probably also the pictures too. It's probably grumpy about this. It's fine. So we're saved. Okay, so back to it. So right where we were, I could send this right now to, this is ready to send. DXF out to route, but it's just a blank box. Now what we're going to do is get these letters registered onto here in a method that is super simple. So what you do is duplicate this, always leave the original because you can work backwards. And then I'm going to go ahead and make this wireframe orange. Okay. So now this gives us just a reference template to reference these two. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make these, I'm going to name these. So I'm going to right here on the names, there's fcall, right? So I'm going to name these now as fcall, and it's going to rename them. Now these are flat cutout letters. Now I can find these on the page. So now I can go over here. You'll see this later. I can grab my send it. And if I select everything and I hit the button over here called fcall, flat cutout letter, boom, it finds them. So it's really helpful to do that. So now that they're named, I'm going to break them apart. And then I'm going to recombine them as individual letters because we're going to need to work with these individually. So bust it apart. Now I'm going to go blue, outline. Perfect. That's what I want. And then usually you find crap like this. What is this? Get rid of that. What's going on? Let's go ahead and check it out. This isn't connected. What's up with that? So we're going to weld that together. I'm going to hit weld right here. I have it right there. Bam. Let's weld. Hopefully that will connect okay with a little round, when it actually routes out. It's kind of funky right there, but it should be okay. So we're good to go. Let's go ahead and check for any duplicates here. So I hit dupe checker. Nope, of course not, because there should be five items. Yep. Okay, so we're good to go there. Save. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make reference dimples on this. Now there's many, again, it helps to know how to make a blade sign by making a blade sign. But when we go to silicone these on, because these are only going to be 1/4 inch thick, there's no room for studs. So then you need to either do a Gerber mask at the bottom half here to reference where this goes, or you need to do some sort of vinyl, or you need to do, we'll also do a laser template, which is a little easier. We have to take cardboard and we have to laser it out. But what you're doing is involving other people, other departments, and it takes time. Also, you need to, again, empathize. You need to think ahead. 2 weeks from now, when this thing is all done, we will be panic at the disco because this was due the day before. We need to ship it today. Oh, but the letters aren't on there. Okay, but we forgot, blah, blah, blah. So that's when paying money now is a dividend that pays huge, slow, smooth, fast. So what I'm going to do is I came up with a way to do dimples. We're going to do little reference dimples that essentially makes it like Duplo blocks, and you don't need anything, and anyone can assemble this after paint. A little bit of silicone, reference the nubs, and we're good to go. It's like built-in studs, but it does take a little bit extra work, but it's well worth it. So here's what we do. So again, it helps to know these things by having done them. So what you do is over here on Launchpad, we make circles. So we're going to do a 0.22, hit that button, there it is, 0.22, and it's named 0.22 so we can find it later. And then we're also going to do a 0.1875, right? Good to go. Now what we're going to do is, E and C, and we're going to stack them. Then what we're going to do is group them. There you go. Now, what we're going to do is place these as little nubs for assembly reference. These are just for reference, so we don't need a lot of them. We just need like 2 to make it obvious. So that way, like a little kid playing blocks. You look at these 2 pegs and you look at the holes in the face and they line up. Now, when it comes to an eye, again, it helps to know these things because you've done it, you were out there doing it. Oops, I hit my group. Don't want to group. There you go, duplicate, select, EC. Now this is dead center. What you want to do is maybe just do one up. Yep, that's 1 inch nudge, and that's 1 inch nudge. That's good enough. Maybe, whatever, let's do 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 1/4 inch, 2, 3, 4. There you go. Again, that's why I do not touch my nudge. I know that it's a 16th. That's it. If I need to, if you need to move anything, I have Move It 2.0. This is my hot nudge. I can select this, and then these are my nudge buttons for the weird stuff. But that way I don't have that cognitive overhead, that bandwidth that I have to remember, oh, I changed this, and what, keep going up here typing, changing, I have 3 custom boom, 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 whatever you want it to be. So whatever custom you have to type here, keep it hot. It can be 0.0008, whatever. So there you go. So that's move it. That's nudge, move it. So I know that now this thing can be flipped upside down. You don't have to, reference top and bottom. The N as well. Look, this could be confused. Now it might be perfectly mirrorable, but I doubt it. No font usually is. So what you want to do is create sort of a system like this, that when you look at this thing from route, again, have empathy of a person who has no idea about this job. They're going to get, it's like, oh crud, this thing's supposed to go out today. So they're going to get handed a bunch of little letters, and they're going to get handed a box with holes in it. So it has to be clear and concise for the person who's never, has no idea about this job. So again, we're going to put one here, and this is just for reference. It's not for strength. So we only need like one there. So this is pretty obvious that that's the P, that's the I, this is the N, this is the K. And now again, the O can be flipped around, whatever. So let's go ahead and just make it only one way. So we're going to go like this, and we'll put one here like that. Again, this is just for reference. It is not for strength. So, weird placement like that, it's fine. So now this combination of holes is pretty obvious to, looking at it, So we're good to go there. Done. Let's save it. Always forget to save. Now, this is where I'll do this. I go over here to my Launchpad, and Quick Draw gives me stenciled of all this. If I push a button, I get that in a stencil outline, and it's named and everything. So I like to do that. But if you want to be, that's that. If you want the word side, that's that. It's good to go. If you want the word seam, you don't have to type it. If you want a word clamp, whatever. So what I like to do is grab an F like this and then just make it bigger. And then what this does is this follows along now, and it lets me know that something has been flipped, something has been mirrored, and it's upside down, face up, face down. So like these two would be basically like this, and this lets me know that these two parts are actually face down, that this piece wants to be flipped this way, and then this piece is actually face down on the table. So we go like that, and now the other thing is don't work from this. Now is like a save point. Oh, save, yes. But what I do now is duplicate, slide, slide, slide. And now I'm going to work from this, because now if there's something that I don't like about this, I could blow this up and go right back to the it's like undo, but in like real life, not just, control U, control U, control U, or control Z, control Z, control Z. So you just make versions. So now what we're going to do is we can break out the letters into the actual flat cutouts that we need. And then I'm going to flip it. And guess what? I mean, it's obvious that these are backwards, but is it obvious that this one's mirrored? Is it obvious that this is mirrored? No. So this F will follow along, right? So now I know that this set has been mirrored. This is face up. This is face down. So, and we are going to, and this is how you send it to the router. You work face down as if, from here on out. And then now I'm going to go ahead and break this out. Again, like I said, this is my OG. So now I'm going to make the version I need. So I'm going to ungroup everything, because remember the 3/16 and the 2/2s, we grouped those. Now I want those 2/2s gone. So here's what I do. Do I hunt and peck like an animal? No, I call in send it. Send it will find it for me. So if I go here and I just select this, and I go over here at the bottom, it says go and pick. I pick the name, 0.22, it's loaded. And now I just select, and it hit go, It finds those and I pull them out, delete. So now all I have left is the 0.16 or the 3/16 nubs. That's what we want. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit my outline, my contour machine. All this does is do all of the work. You can put a contour around something in Corel, but it involves breaking apart. It involves. Versus this contour machine, I do all that in code, plus I name it, I make cool colors and everything so it stays organized. So what we're going to do is, again, without having to move these studs out of the way, I can select F calls because I named them, remember? So I hit this. It only selects the flat cutouts. It leaves the circles alone. And then I go to my contour machine here. And then I'm going to let's put an outline, because what we're going to do is do an island fill. We're going to hog down the acrylic to leave the nubs. That way the nubs are protruding and they will lock into the face. So I'm going to put, let's put a 3/16 contour around everything. Bam. Okay, so this will be the island fill. Now this is called an outline, this has a name now, outline 1875. Let's go ahead and just leave it that way. But I want to change the color because I'm like that. So I hit pick, outline is selected. I go like this, I hit go. Now I've selected that. I'm going to go with, let's go with a purple. I like that. There you go. So the purple will be island fill, as well as these will be poking up. So we're going to island fill down, grind down the acrylic, and then this is the actual through shape. That's what's going to get chopped out. So now we're going to have letters that have their own built-in nubbies that will then correspond to the holes in the face. That way, when it's time to assemble, it takes a matter of minutes, and we are not involving any other departments, and we're not involving any other materials. It's just literally silicone, put it together, we're on our way. So these letters are ready to go. I like to fill these actually, so that way I kind of know. So I'm going to go ahead and hit F calls again. We can get you out of the way. Thank you for your service. I'm going to do flat cutouts, and I like to do ice blue for acrylic. That's like my acrylic color. So there you go. Now, if we are truly happy with this, we will hit good to go. See down here on Mr. Goodbar, G to G, this puts a little green dot. That's just basically like a bingo stamp. It lets me know I like these. These are good to go. Also, I will, instead of saying make 2 of these or whatever, I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate, slide down a known amount. There we go. So we have 2 ready to go. I like that. Now let's do the face. So I'm going to do like we did. This is the OG. I like it, but I'm going to go ahead and just make another one. Doesn't hurt anything. But I know that these are face down. See, these are mirrored. So I'm going to go ahead and mirror this, but I'm going to go ahead and leave it. I like to leave it lined up. So I'm going to, without the F, otherwise the F makes it go funky. So I'm going to go like this, and then I'm going to go like this. There you go. So now I know that this has been mirrored, and it's the same as this, but also what we're going to be doing is taking these holes and transferring them to here. So now I'm going to go ahead and ungroup. Now I want to get rid of the 3/16. So pick, I got it loaded. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to go get those out of the way. Make sure I didn't grab anything I don't want. Just give it a quick audit. Good to go. Now we're going to go there. Now don't worry about anything. Just leave it. We're going to go ahead and duplicate and group. Now all you need to do is I like to find the rectangle, the true rectangle here. That's the rectangle, 36 by 22. See that inner rectangle there, that red? It's an outline. I take that and I take this, center. Oops, no, yeah, duh. This one. You want to center, yeah. It's this one with that one. There you go. There you go. That's it. Do it again. Only you do it with this one this time. There you go. Now double check. Make sure you see the orange. That's why I like to do the colors. You can see the orange is good to go. It is lined up with that one. We are centered. Double check, triple check. If you want to do this, mistakes are extremely expensive. You need to be ridiculously, it's attention to detail every step of the way. I make it look easy. The macros really help because it's computerized, and computers very rarely make mistakes. So it really helps, but you really got to pay attention, and you just double, triple check everything. All systems are basically built to be verifiable. So anyway, so we're good to go. Now what we're going to do is we can go ahead and ungroup everything because we're getting close. It's just this quick. You know, imagine not having to explain everything to you. I can knock these out pretty dang quick. And don't worry about Pinko. Leave it there. Don't worry about cleaning this up. Leave it exactly as it is. We clean it up on the route file side, on the DXF side. This is just like I say, it's a copy of record. It's the source of truth. Leave it exactly how it is. Save, 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 save. Always save. So we're good to go here. What I'd like to do, again, the guys in the back shop aren't going to see these letters. They're just going to see holes. So ask yourself, again, have empathy. Which way's up? I don't know. You know, because you're sitting here working on it. But the guys in the back shop are going to be handed 2 pieces of metal. And they're going to be like, huh? So this is where you hit your little arrow here. See the green arrow? Bam. There you go. That is the proper size for a good router. So it still makes sense. But the router is going to reference kiss this, and it's going to be an arrow. If you want to stretch it a little bit, fine. But this is the optimal size of not wasting travel time, you know, wasting the router's time, just, you know, making a really giant arrow, versus if it's too small, it just turns into a blob. And then it's like, what is that? So, you know, let's just redo it. So this is, you know, 1.5-inch tall, is about the right size for a 5/32 bit, which is what all of these holes are. This whole thing basically gets routed out with a 5/32 bit. So this is a good size to be, yeah, that's an arrow. It's not too blobby, but also we're not wasting a lot of time with feed time, you know, just going around drawing pictures on stuff. So I like to have that, and I like to have that. That will let, you know, the fabbers know immediately that that goes up and that goes up. If they do it wrong from that point out, yeah, we got issues. Other than that, we're good to go. And we already have our holes built in for our riv nuts. Now, before we get ready to send out, we need to, and I'm going to take a little detour here so that way whoever's watching knows what's up. So normally what we would do is put eye bolts here, like eyelets. That way, then they would hook to. But we know, let's go back to our other page. This is why I do this. We know that this is going to have a stud sticking through it. So we are not going to use the usual eyelets. So this is just an example of how handy this is. So I'm going to open Chrome, and it's on my other page here. So let me bring this over. So I'm going to open Chrome, and I keep McMaster right there. Bam. McMaster has an almost seemingly infinite library of DXFs. So and those basically are real size drawings of everything we use. So again, it helps to know how to build a blade sign to build a blade sign. But if you're just doing this from scratch and just doing it by computer, this is what you do. So go routing eye bolts, not for lifting. These are the cheaper ones. They're just, you know, like that, like you see. And because we use 3/8 rivet nuts, we are going to use 3/8 by 16ths ones of these. We use zinc plated steel, not black oxide, not the 304. We don't put stainless in with that. And we do the bent closed eye, which is fine. And we just do the number 1 inch, the 1 inch length. And you can see where your previous choices are purple. Kudos to McMaster Carr. It makes it very easy to find what you did last time. Boom. Now you see here, you can download all of these versions. But I grabbed the 2D DXF. That's what we want. You download it. I have it sent straight to my desktop so I can grab it quickly. And then while we're here, we know that, again, this is what it takes to build. You got to think it through. We also know we need rods. Now we have some laying around the shop, but what we're going to do is I'm going to grab the proper rod here. So, okay, let's pause that for a second. Let's figure out how big we need. So if we know that this is, I believe I saw that this was 1 1/8. Yes. So this is scaled, but I went ahead and changed scale. That's fine. I'm not against working in scale. I'm just against doing full-size things from scale, because what if their scale is wrong? But once, you know, like I say, that's why I want a full size. It's the truth. I'm not against working in scale. It's just working from this is scary. But now that we have this, I have it on information that we will just kind of scale this based on, so we don't really know how high this needs to be, but we're just going to go off of the proportions of this and then kind of guess what that will be. So we know that we need a stud that is 2 inches minimum, plus the inch or whatever that goes in there, plus whatever we want coming in there. So I might just say, let's grab 6-inch studs. That will be plenty long. It's a known standard size. So we're going to go to low strength steel. This is, again, this helps to be a fabricator to just know these things. We're going to go to 3/8/16 because that's the riv nuts we're using. And I'm going to go to zinc plated steel, not steel. And we're going to go to 4-inch stud. And you can see where we like the usual suspects are purple. Or no, let's go 6 because they can always screw more into the actual blade sign. It's fine. And I'm going to download that DXF. So these right here, now if you want to, you could throw this into the cart while you're here. Boom, we're good to go. McMaster car for the win. So now I'm going to go back to my build page and we're just going to go like we do. You just go up here to import and I'm going to import these two. Now you can select both when it bringing in DXFs. You can actually do 2. So bam, then bam. Okay, don't scale, don't drag. Just push the button and make them drop in. So just for reference for newbies, this is what we would normally put in here, and that looks familiar, right? But since this is going to be a quote unquote specialized one, we are going to do a rod here. Now, oops, there you go. Yeah, see, that's why I don't like to switch that. So I forgot. So we're back to 1-to-1. Okay, so there you go. So this is our normal. We have this in the shop. It's in a drawer. It's ready to go. We don't have to order them every time. And we do have these rods. I probably don't have to order this rod in. I can just say, you know, cut a rod at this length. But sometimes it's easier to just, for $10, bring in the rods. They're there. Because again, 2 weeks from now, we won't have time to cut rods. We'll be panicking. There they are. It's nothing better. Now, I do have a macro that I started to collect a library of these from McMaster Car. Thank you, McMaster Car. So for my riv nuts, I don't need to go to McMaster Car. I have them hot buttons. So if I push this button here, it brings them up. So I don't have to go get them from there. But just so you know, you're like, well, it's a rivet nut. So this is going to be something that gets put in these holes that will be squished, and it gives us threads in order to thread in either a rod or these guys here. So that's what if you don't know what a riv nut is. So they go right here. They are at the proper spacing. Let's double check that. Always double check. So I have how far is it? I just push this button. It gives me 31.5 from center to center. That's exactly what we want. We're good to go. So we will be using, and also what this is this lets fabrication know that this is what we're using. Now this is confusing because you'd be like, well, which one's which? I brought this in just to show you. I'm going to put that over here. Again, you don't have to delete it, but just put it on this side of the workshop. You know, forget that. So we're going to do studs and we're going to do riv nuts. And then what I also like to do is make it very clear to them. So I go to my stencil machine here and I hit blue and then I type 3, 8. Now they basically know this. So, but never assume, never assume. Make sure it's super clear. But essentially it's how we do. That's a little big. I hit the button here. It changes it to 2-inch. Good enough. Good to go. All right, so that'll be our studs. We'll go up there. Now what we're gonna do is you'll take that stud and they'll double nut it and all that, so you don't have to worry about it so much. All right, so we have our letters ready. We have our faces ready. That's a blade sign. These guys are gonna squish 2 riv nuts in there, make sure they're in there tight. That's our mounting. This is our clean and sexy, bam, bam, all good, pure profit blade sign. We are good to go. So now, once we get to the point where everything, you know, yeah, if you want to, you can do a good to go on this too. This one's good and this one's good. So that kind of lets you know. Audit, make sure these are the scribe lines. These are the bend scribes that are already there for you. These holes are all there. Everything's kind of nudged already. See the difference from there to there? I kind of nudged that already. Maybe buy a little bit of space. So when these two come together, that's a 16th. So when these two come together, there's a little bit of room. They don't conflict. Again, it helps to know how to build a blade sign. Okay, so there you go. So now we're at a point where this is true for every sign that I do. We are done with the creation part, and now becomes the administrative basic, whether it's channel letters, blade sign, giant monument sign. Now we switch to just making DXF files. And this process is the same no matter what. So this was the quote unquote difficult part, creating the parts. And now it's time to ship it out. So this is where exporter comes in. This is where hi, my name is, because we're going to create pages for all this. And we are also then going to start making layers and all that. So let me show you that. So transition time, take a break, have a little coffee. All right, so let's start making pages. So the whole idea is every page is going to be a DXF file. Every page is going to be a different material. It could be the same material, but different pages might also mean different things. So the whole idea is you don't just send one big giant DXF with 1,000 parts everywhere, and then the route guy chokes on that. Again, have empathy. Try to think of what they got going on as well as what you got going on, and don't make your problem their problem or whatever. It's all about workflow, breaking things into digestible chunks. Anything, look at the Manhattan Project. We needed to come up with the atomic bomb. You break it into parts and you figure it out. We can do whatever. We want to go to the moon. You break it down into parts. You make it happen. So breaking things into digestible parts is key. So let's look at what we got. We've got 090 and we've got acrylic letters here. So let's do that. So what you do is you go to hi, my name is. Now what you got is you got hot pages. This is just a quick draw, bam. And I think I have right here. So I have 090 blade parts. Good enough. If I select this and hit make page, bam, you can see over here, it adds a page to the left. And now that page name is going to become the file name. Now I can get rid of that. This one I use most of the time though, because this allows you to do a custom name. So this is all the materials. So you can see I preloaded pretty much everything we have that we use on a daily, but you can also type, fine, whatever. But so we're going to do 090, but again, we could do this, but we also I have blade parts in here. I have different things. So, but that's fine. Yeah, let's just do that. Bam, hot pages. Now this one we're going to do, now this calls out for 1/4 inch. And most of the time when I know nobody's going to really be barking about it, this also helps to know things, right? 1/4 inch isn't 1/4 inch. 1/4 inch acrylic is like 0.23. It's 0.21 sometimes because it's millimeters. It's not inches. 3/8 acrylic is not 3/8. It's not 0.375. It's closer to 0.36, sometimes 0.34. It's just good to know these things. 1/2 inch is more like 0.46. 3/4 is closer to 0.37, 0.73, I mean. So anyway, so I know that like some of our other customers don't really worry about it because what you are doing though is you're grinding off a little bit. So your 1/4 inch acrylic flat cutout might end up being closer to 3/16. If you don't think anyone's going to say anything, then send these over with 1/4 inch acrylic, knowing they're going to get ground down a little bit for their nubby. I don't mind though to make sure that if we're sending this to someplace far away, and if you have some really picky customer that's going to get out a micrometer, then what I want to do is start bigger. So these are being called out for 1/4 inch, but I'm going to call out 3/8. Now this is very small. It's a small scrap. Route probably has a chunk sitting there. It's not a big deal. Again, taking the time to make sure it's done right the first time is a lot cheaper than doing it 2 or 3 times, especially if it's going away and a customer could be very nitpicky somewhere. We don't want surprises. So I'm going to go down to the call out here. So I'm going to make a new page for this. So I'm going to go here, auto list. I'm going to go, where is it? 375 clear acrylic right here. Boom. So 3/8 clear acrylic. And then what are these? These are flat cutouts. I have it right here. F calls. Boom. Make page. There you go. So I have page 1, page 2. These are our parts. Now I like to put, this is just me, I like to put metal first, and then I like to put thermoplastics, acrylics, polymerics last. And then in between these 2 pages would be a install. any kind of install pattern that goes to. So it goes like metal, plastics, acrylics, wood, any kind of templates or anything. And then in between here will be install patterns to go to Vinyl Shop. And then this is our work page. Sometimes I don't always do this, but I will name this work page just like that, just to keep things clear. See where it says load current, name current page, bam. Okay, so I just named work page, so it's very clear. Okay, so we're good to go there. Don't forget, save. See, gotta remember. Okay, so now what we do is very simple. You're just gonna go ahead and, without doing any layers, don't worry about anything, start distributing your parts to your pages. Just this simple. So even if you grab everything, who cares? Grab this. You're not worried about cleaning this up here. You're done. This is how it's gonna be frozen in amber for the rest of its life. We're gonna grab this and just copy paste to the 090 parts. There you go. Don't worry about any of it. But I like to kind of get it centered up in the middle of the page. There you go. And then the work page over here, we're going to go and grab our very unfortunate named words there. And we're just going to paste it into the middle-ish. There you go. And that's it. Save. And now we're kind of done with this page. That's it. Now what we're going to do is do our layers. And this is, again, this happens on every sign I make. So we're done with rectangular. We'll get them out of the way. So this is Launchpad. I keep this on the other page, but I'm bringing this over. You'll see that down here in this frame are the three things that I use for export files. Now, graphics uses this. People who use this, they know what's up. So they're already ahead of the curve if you were to want to try to help me do stuff. If you want to get into this, this is what's up. So first and foremost, we are going to create layers. So you hit Layers Machine pops up. I'm going to show you the Objects Manager here, which is what I used to use to work with layers, but it's a little more difficult to work with these days. But anyway, so I'll show you, we'll go over that. So this is Corel. So you can see we're on page 1, layer 1, and here's all of our parts, right? All right here. These are, you can select them, see it turns blue. These are all of our parts right here. So I'm going to create a layer. So we're going to collapse that. So you collapse it. So first and foremost, what you do is you work your way down. Start at the top. This is the basics of what you need to create a route file. You basically can't create a DXF without chopping. You know, why are we sending it if you're not going to route? So TNS means throughs and shape, and InfoWords is the layer that route knows not to route. Everything you put on InfoWords will not be routed, but it's information you pass on. You know, you can type there, hey, what about this? Put arrows and point to things, whatever. But InfoWords, click it, and you can see where it created the layer right here. That is where you put all the words, all the stuff that doesn't get routed. Then you basically, what I like to do is I do the usual suspects, but this is the bit. So 5/32 bit, yes, we will need to use 5/32 bit. So yes, and I like to throw a 3/16 in there just in case, because you can always delete it after. I like to throw a 1/4" bit and then the whatever bit. The whatever bit is like, it's not my job. As long as route knows what to use and it gets routed out properly, I leave it to him. I'm not making that decision. There's certain decisions I'm making, but otherwise I'm going to defer. But the layer is obvious to him. So here are our layers now. See here? So you've got InfoWords, you've got your throughs and shape 5/32, your 3/16, and your whatever bit. Do I need, now, just work your way down. Reference kisses. Yes, remember, we are putting arrows here. We have this for a reference kiss. This lets fabrication which side to clamp in the break when they bend the metal. You have to put that, super important. Otherwise, it's like fab could clamp here, they could clamp everywhere, and it's not good. So we know we need a reference kiss. What kind of reference kiss? On center, outside? Do we want the bit to be inside the shape? Do we want to try to use a pointy little V bit for a very, very, very skinny thing? We want on center, and we also can choose the bit. Do I want to do an on center 1/2" bit, a big giant doughy? No. 5/32 is default, leave it. So on center shape, bam, you can see it adds it here. Reference kiss on center, 5/32. That passes on that information to route. Super simple. Work your way down. Bend scribes. Do we have bend scribes? We sure do. They're right there. Now you need to know which bit to use. Default is 090, 045 depth. Again, it helps to know how to build a blade sign in order to build a blade sign. But otherwise, just do what I'm telling you. Hit make layer, bam. It's going to do a discount double check. You've selected it. Are you sure? Yes. Boom. It adds that. So there's your bend scribe. There's your reference kiss. We're all good to go. Work your way down. Is there any push through? Is it 1/2 inch acrylic? Is there push through? Nope. Don't need to make a layer. Is there any stud mounts? Do you got holes to tap? Nope. Island fill? Yes, but not in aluminum. We'll get to that. Is there any backed up acrylic? No. Okay. Custom layer? Nope. All this down here duplicates layers. We don't need that. So we're done with the layers machine on this page. So let's go ahead and go to this page. We're right back to it. So let's go back to, so we can close this. And now you can see here, layer 1, here's everything on our objects one here. So let's add, so we need info words, yes. We need throughs and shapes, 5/32. Let's just do the 4, that's fine. Do we have any on-center reference kissing? Do we have any reference kissing where we're letting, bzz, bzz, bzz? No, don't have any of that. Do we have any bend scribes? No. Is this push through acrylic? No. Stud mount? No. But yes, island fill, AKA hog down. So we need to then decide how much do we want to take down. So, we kind of do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my Calci real quick. And I'm just going to do 0.36 minus 0.25. And that tells us 0.11. So that's fine. Let's just do it. 0.11. You fill that in. And we are going to do dealer's choice, which is like, I'm not going to make the call what's best to do that. He's going to decide, yeah, I'm just going to take a 1/2 inch bit really quickly, go, brr, whatever. So I go down here to dealer's choice and I'm going to make a layer. Now, sometimes you might have set up something really funky and it has to be a 5/32 bit. Let him know. That's what this is for. It will make a layer that says island fill 0.11 5/32 bit. He might email you going, well, I don't get it. Well, you're like, no, I need that. I need it. But this is just shaving down as fast as possible. So dealer's choice lets him know. And he's like, yeah, I got this giant bit. I'll knock it out. So you're going to make that layer. And there it is. So you can see where it says island fill 0.11 depth. And then it says dealer's choice. Now, you keep in mind, it's a bit of the reason why these are cryptic is both, there's two things. The layers names, Corel chose to only allow 32 characters max, and they don't allow certain special characters. The ampersand, obviously, they allow, but so you have to be very cryptic and make up a code. So that's why these look weird. Also, the page names can only be 32 characters as well. So, this guy here, I have it to where if you try to do a really long name, it's going to prompt you and say, hey, whoa. It basically will count. So every time I hit make new page, the code counts the name and then the letters and then lets me know, it gives me a warning. But otherwise, that's the constraints. The page name can only be 32 and the layer can only be 32. So you have to be creative. That's why these look so cryptic. 375 clear, whatever. So anyway, so I think we're good. Island fill, is there backed up acrylic? No. Okay, so we're done. Thank you, Layers Machine. Thank you for your service. Now we're going to go to the next thing on this, so you got the idea here. I'm going to put this back over here. I have that on my second screen. So now the next thing, work your way over, is info words. So the info words goes onto the info words layer. That lets the person know what the material is. This pops up right here. Info words. Leave this default. I kind of had a lot of things before I knew, this is an oldie but goodie. I don't use a lot of the functions that I put here anymore. I just leave it. But this gives you a drop down of not everything, but a lot of the usual suspects of material that we use. So right off the bat, 090. So you just select that and then you hit make words. And what it does is it takes the overall size of this and makes a percentage of this and sticks it next to it at a percentage. So as you can see, we keep everything in a landscape because eventually you will see what's up. We're going to want to make a printable page that fits on tabloid. So we kind of work in a landscape kind of thing, and then you can massage this a little bit to not be so big, because again, keep in mind, we're going to want to print this and we want to keep it kind of compact. We don't want to go vertically. We don't want to go, so that's why we kind of keep things in digestible, sort of, horizontal shapes. So let's hit save. So we're good here. So see layers, quantity, and then here we're choosing that this is 3/8 acrylic. So I have the usual suspects first, and then you might have to scroll down a little bit. And there's 3 clear. So boom, boom, and you can see where it made it nice and small. That's actually pretty good. I like that. It's kind of a nice little square. This is redundant. I'll get rid of one of them. But again, it might be clear to you, but let's just keep track, keep reference, leave that there. Doesn't hurt anything. Same thing here, So now we save, and now it's time to clean up and make DXFs. We're almost there. Once you get this down, this goes very quickly. I'm going, insanely slow right now. So now the next step is to get rid of all the crud we don't want. See this little template thing here, this little guy? We don't want that. Get rid of that. We can get rid of all these, you see these guides, things like that. All that can go. Well, the next one is called Send It. Send It right here allows you to work with shapes and layers very quickly. So before, in the olden days, I would have to take this guy here and I would have to actually go and find all the shapes on every page. So we're on blade parts right here, right? I would have to go through and select each of these by hand in this long list. And you can see the scrolling nightmare that is, right? Look at it. But because everything's named, see how everything's named? I can easily find it with my Send It tool. So Send It over here gives a list of the layers that we have. And then over here, Find Them. If I push a button, it will go find all the things that are named this way. And then also I can go ahead and find them, by name here, custom name. So that's all it is. This basically allows you to find shapes and then throw them onto, without having to drag and drop and scroll in this nightmare of dragging and scrolling and dragging and scrolling with the Corel one. This is push button. Again, I like to push a mouse button. That's what I want to do. So first and foremost, what you're just going to do is select everything, and we're going to get rid of all of the crud. So, and that's called Super Scraper. You see this button right here, Super Scraper? This is going to find all of the crud because I have it hardwired for that. So I'm going to push a button, and you can see where it's selected everything. Then what you're going to do is just drag it out of the way, and then you're going to do an audit to make sure that nothing got grabbed that you don't want. We're getting rid of these nuggets. We don't need that. All these inline things, get rid of that. That's fine. These we don't need. Even the good to goes, it's programmed to get rid of those. We don't need those. This redundant rectangle. Okay, so gone. Now, I haven't updated Super Scraper to get rid of the building rectangles. So we still need to kind of go through and get rid of these. These are redundant, but they're from a time long ago. So what I could do is I can do pick and see where it says rect. And then over here I pick and it says face rect. Well, what I'll do is I will get rid of this and I will just do a includes. And what it'll do is it'll do a generic search for anything with the name rect in it, which then selects those rects. I drag this down. Now there's my rects. I've dug them out. But what I need to do is update the Super Scraper code to include the rects, but it's not that hard. So we got rid of those. Now what I like to do, and again, we don't want to route this. So what are these called? These are called F calls, flat cutouts. So I'm going to select that. I'm going to hit flat cutouts and I can drag those out of the way. Those are gone. Okay, so now all I should be left with are the actual pieces we want to route. It should be stripped clean. And this is where you can verify. And this is where all the mistakes really get ironed out. So what I like to do at this point is up top, I have wireframe and enhanced. I go to wireframe to make sure nothing is hiding underneath something else. Because if you route something that's on top of something else, it's a big nightmare because the router will just make a giant hole where that thing was. So I look for any hidden crouching tiger, hidden dragons anywhere, and then go back to enhanced. We're good to go. And so I like to leave that where it is, hit save. And then let's go to the flat cutouts and we can go ahead and clean these up. But we pretty much are cleaned up here. Certain shapes are already inherently organized just by, there's not a lot going on here. So I think we're good. So now let's take it and let's distribute parts to layers. And then we're one step away from DXFs. We're good to go. So using send it, let's find the parts. So stuff, first and foremost, start with info words because I like to work in that order. What's top level? Info words. Let's get stuff that's not for route. We'll, shift select, and then you select the one you want, and then you hit send to layer. Boom. Now what you want to do is hide it. This will shut off this layer. Watch. Boom. Gone. Okay. So now I can't mess with that. It's hidden. Fine. Next thing I do is I select everything and I hit reference kiss. Let's start at the top. Reference kiss. Because these are named a certain way, send it finds the reference kisses. So I send that to reference kiss on center, send to layer, and then I hide it. Now that's out of the way. Then I select everything again. I find the bend scribes because they're named properly. Look at that. See? Boom, boom, boom. There they are. Bend scribes. I send those to layer. Bam. And I hide it. Get it out of the way. Then I go and I work my way down. Now is where you use these guys here. See, find through shapes sized, 5/32 bit. Because I built this, I don't have any 16th and 1/8 inch holes. I purposely don't want that. It's too small. That's for extreme cases. Break glass in case of emergency. You don't want to send the router down this, you want to stay 5/32 for 09 and higher because that's where you make speed. That's where you go. So, but what I'm going to do is select all shapes and I'm going to hit 5/32 bit. And what it does is does the math and checks the X and Y and it finds every shape that has to be on a 5/32 layer. You send it to layer and you hide it. That way, because NRoute is not user-friendly. If you select a hole that's smaller than the bit that it's using, it will just ignore it. It doesn't say, oh, hey, you made a mistake. Do you mean to use this bit? Because no. And then you get like this, you'll get 2 panels with no holes. And then you're like, where's all the holes? And then router goes, oh yeah, the bit didn't fit in the hole, so it just ignored it. That's horrible. That's why this is the best way to do this is you break it up into each bit size. That way nothing gets missed. This is taking ownership of your file, making it, don't just pass it off to someone else and be like, good luck, bro. We're all counting on you. I'm going to lunch. I'm taking ownership of my file and I'm saying, look, this is the best I can do. If you goof up after this, sorry, pal. I did everything I could. So I'm going to select again and I'm going to work my way up. 3/16 bit. Yep. 0.22 is too small for a 1/4 bit, but it's bigger than a 5/32. I'm going to send that to a different layer. Now, the router guy can choose to do all of it with this bit. That's up to him. If he wants to do everything in that bit and he doesn't want to change the bit, fine. But I'm giving him what he needs to succeed. And if he does want to switch to a 3/16 and go faster, because a bigger bit, you can theoretically go faster, then that's fine. So anyway, so now I can sort of audit. I should only have 4 objects left. I should have this, I should have this, and I should have the 2 panels. I look down at the bottom left, story checks out. It seems legit. So I'm good to go. I'm going to put this on whatever bit. He can cut it out with the, whatever, as long as the resolution's good, as long as it doesn't round off corners too much. I'm going to let him pick the fastest bit. That's called whatever bit, send to layer, hide. And so now this is where this system is a self-checking, self-auditing system, because now with all the layers off, I should not have missed any parts. Every part should be in a home. And with everything off, this page should be blank, right? See, there's no objects, it won't select. And if you want to double check, you don't have to, but I'm just saying, you can see where everything is on layers here. Let's close all this up. See, again, this became really difficult to work with. Corel kind of revamped this thing, and now the objects manager is a real pain in the butt. So that's why I made my own macro. But if you collapse everything, now you can see that you have a caret, a caret, a caret. That means there's things on there. Layer 1 should be empty. This is an audit system where if you do everything correctly, layer 1 should be empty. You do not export layer 1. And then also, we are not using the 1/4 inch bit, and that makes sense because there's nothing to send a 1/4 inch. We have stuff on whatever bit. We have stuff on 1/8 or 3/16, and we have, anyway. So it's an auditing system, and it's almost like self-auditing. Now, what I do is I'm going to jump ahead a little bit here. Grab name. So let's say I try to export this with empty layers. You get sending an empty layer means you're sending a false positive. Like, how does the route guy know you didn't want something on 1/4 inch bit? So don't send empty layers, because a true and a false is always false. A true and a true equals true. But if you have a true and a false, it has to be false. That's pure logic. So if you send an empty 1/4 bit, how does he know you didn't miss something? How is he supposed to assume? So you don't want to send empty layers because it's just confusing. So in order to get rid of, so once you're happy that everything's sexy, then hit delete, and it automatically gets rid of everything that's empty. It gets rid of layer 1, which should be empty, and it gets rid of any redundant things you didn't use. So when it comes to layers machine, go ahead and push all the buttons you want. I mean, of course, don't be silly. But yeah, if you hit push through acrylic accidentally, at this step, it will get rid of everything that's redundant. So don't worry about it. I haven't thought of everything, but I pretty much thought of everything. So don't worry about it. Like I said, it helps to know how to build a blade sign in order to build a blade sign. So now you just go over here, and I have hide all and hide, visible and visible all. If you hit visible all, now it'll turn everything on, and we're back to boom. Now let's hide all, but this is how you check. You do step by step. You work backwards. Visible, there you go. That's all that should be on InfoWords. You hit visible reference kiss, makes sense. That's all that should be on reference kiss, makes sense. You bend scribe, yep, it looks, because you can kind of see it. That's what it's supposed to be. Visible, there's all the little holes that we want, yep. And then this should just be for the flat cutouts. There they are, boop, boop, boop. And then whatever bit is what's left. There you go. That's how you audit. That's how, giant projects with thousands and thousands of holes, I make sure that they're on point. Again, once you get the hang of this, I go a lot faster than this, but I'm showing you. So now this page is ready. Save. We're done. And now it's time for this. So let's do it quickly. I refresh. That's the thing about macros. You kind of have to refresh. They don't keep running in the background as a safety measure because they don't want viruses and hackers and whatnot. So as a safety thing, when you push the button, it's one and done. So this thing doesn't really sniff what the layers are. You have to hit refresh layers. So let's go back to this page. I have to hit refresh layers. Then it refreshes. Let's go to this page, hit refresh layers. There you go. So now we're loaded. It's just a slight inconvenience of macros. So let's do it quick. So we're just gonna select stuff that's on InfoWords, send a layer hide. Now we know that the pegs need to be on the island fill layer. Now I'm gonna use send it to find them. So I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna hit pick, and I'm gonna find those, hit go, and I've found them. I'm gonna send those to island fill, and I'm gonna hide them. There you go. Now you can work backwards. Let's dig out the flat cutouts. If I hit F calls, I've dug those out. Let's put those. Now I'm gonna send those to whatever bit. I'm gonna let him figure that out. So send a layer, hide it, out of the way. Look what's left. This goes on to island fill, send a layer, hide, and we're good to go. So obviously we only have 3 layers that are necessary. So let's hit delete. We should see everything go away. Yep. And then let's visible, work backwards, check, visible. This is our island fill. And then that's the sound it makes. And then it's visible. There you go. Save. We are good to export. So we're done with this. Thank you for your service. This whole segment of layers, InfoWords, send it. We are now on layers. We're good to go. Now it's time to use exporter, and you'll see how quick this goes. So go back to the beginning, page 1. I'm going to go ahead and hit grab name. So let's say this is blank. Hit grab name, it loads the job name, and it actually this is the name of the document. Now come down here to this little spot here. This is export DXF. Hit select first. It selects all items and it populates the page name for you. hit DXF. It automatically does a duplicate checker. It tells us that there's no duplicates. You hit OK. I also have this to make sure that if there's any kind of channel letter thing, is there any masking required? Because we get hotspots. I went ahead and added this just as this is my checkpoint. I hit yes, this is non-illuminated. So what it does is it automatically opens window for you and you can confirm that there it is. So layers, Pinko, 090, blade parts, route, and it gives the date. ROUT is a route file, PROD is a production file, a reference PDF is a reference PDF, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I have a naming scheme. Exporter takes care of that. So we're done with this. Plus it also gives a confirmation on layers guide, which is inconveniently hidden right now. There it is. So you see here, it actually puts on the layers down on the bottom corner, it gives a copy of the file name that we sent. So I have record. So let's say I'm kind of going through this and I see I sent this, but I haven't made one here yet, right? So let's go ahead and select. Let's do it again. So you go over here, you hit select all, and it grabs this. It changes the name, keeps Pinko, changes the name to that, hit export. It does a quick duplicate checker. Again, redundant, but it's there to make sure. And then it pops up. So now we have both our DXFs are ready to go. Bam, perfect. Close that up, don't need it. Thank you for your service. Save. Now that we have everything, that's been sent and, or it hasn't been sent, but I'm just saying it's exported and that's record. And that's on the, like I say, that's on the guides layer. It doesn't have anything to do with anything. But that way I can quickly assess what I've sent and not sent. And so now make sure nothing is selected, because if you have anything selected and create a PDF, then Exporter will create just a PDF of what's selected. So we don't want that. So make sure nothing's selected and then re-grab the name, because it still says the last page of material. Hit grab name. It renames the document. Now all you do is hit ref PDF right here. Just hit that button and this thing kicks out a full-size PDF of everything I just did. This goes back to the shop. This is for literally ref PDF. It says it right on the tin. This is what the guys reference. And this is why I want to make sure that the pictures aren't too big, because I like to keep these ref PDFs around 4 or lower, because that way they're emailable. They're not chewing up a whole bunch of, so 4 megabytes or lower. And that's where bringing in, also you have to watch your DXFs. So these pictures will make them, fatty, but also these, you have to be careful. There's a lot of math right here being done with nodes and stuff. So bringing in the DXFs are great, but sometimes these DXFs can really make your PDF giant. And if you're wondering why, you might either have to omit these or you might have to convert to curves and really reduce nodes and things. Anyway, so yeah, the DXFs can be resource hungry, but they're beyond handy, because this is literally full size and you can work with it in real time. So anyway, so that's why I like to do that. So, but there's our reference PDF right there in homework. We're good to go. Now, one last step. So now I have my DXFs. I have my reference PDF. I'm about ready to send them. Now we need to make a printable version, because the reference PDF is not going to be printed. It's only going to be looked at on a computer. Fine. But now our fabrication process is that these get printed on a tabloid 17 by 11, and that these will become checklists for what comes off the router. So in order to make a print-friendly version of this, I literally destroy, I save as, and I literally make a copy that's dedicated, a CDR, that's dedicated purely for print. So what I do is make sure everything's fine, save it, hit save, everything's fine. Now you come over here and it says print prep, hit that. It's going to rename this and this and create a whole new CDR. Print prep, boom. Wait for it. Takes a minute. There you go. So now I made it very stark. So that way when I'm looking through this list, see this big old gap? I know print. See, it says print. That's what it does for me. So I can easily find these print ones and, boom. So now the reason why I have a separate one is I'm going to destroy this. I'm going to get rid of work page. I'm going to get rid of this. and I'm only going to keep the DXF files, and then I'm going to reduce them to 11 by 17 page, and I'm going to make them printable for them. And then I'm going to break out a PDF. So that way they get this package that's completely, let's just say it's very easy to work with. So what I do is I hit, so print prep pops up these two little things. So I have printer ready, and then I have quality control checklist, which we haven't implemented yet, but it's there. So what you're going to do is trim the PDF and make the PDF. So here's what we do. So I want to get rid of 3 and I want to get rid of 4. I want to keep page 1 and I want to keep page 2. So I'm going to go from page 3 to page 4, trim. Now what it's done is gone through, grouped, resized everything, and now every page size is a 11 by 17. These are ready to print. So our fab guys will be looking for this and they will check mark as things come out. That way they know they are good to go. Obviously something with like 5 parts, not a big deal, but it allows them, because they have clipboards in the back, and this allows them a workflow. Next, what I'll do is I'll hit quality checklist. That's just going to put this little checklist up here in the corner. I don't know, someday we might use this, who knows, initial things, but it puts it up in the corner. Now we're ready to go. So now what I'm going to do is hit print PDF. Don't hit ref, but hit print PDF. And then again, it pops up right here. It says, reference PDF sent. It lets me know that this is done. I can close this. And now I have a PDF of just the print. That's it. So now these guys will print this out at the shop. They'll put it on their clipboard, and this will allow them to keep track of what's coming off. So that's a job. So we have our 2 DXFs. I have a reference PDF of the job that the guys can open without having to have Corel. And then they're going to expect a print of the parts so they can track it. So now I can get rid of this. I can just, thank you, out of the way. Let's get these out of the way. That's a job. Where are we going for lunch? Check the